In today's crochet along tutorial, I'll show you how to make my new design, the Splat Frog. He was inspired by my little absolute beginner frogs when I wondered what they'd look like if their mouth was open. And this is why he's called a Splat Frog. Take the absolute beginner frog and Splat Frog. This tutorial is for beginners, so I'll be teaching you step by step how to make this little guy. You can make it using the regular V-shaped single crochet stitches, or you can use the amigurumi style X-shaped stitches. For this crochet along, I'll be using the X-shaped amigurumi stitches. And as I always do, I tried out my pattern in a larger yarn to see what would happen. This little guy is the result of a chenille yarn. I added an extra row around the body because I wanted to see what it would look like if it was a little taller. I think it's pretty cute. And here's my favourite. This one's made using Bernat Velvet Plus yarn. Isn't it beautiful? Its legs flop around so well. Its eyes look big and poppy and it's so soft. I just love this little guy. So make your frog in whatever size you like, but as a beginner it's probably more sensible to make it in cotton first because you can see the stitches well. Check this quick pattern guide for all the things you'll need to make this project. The things listed are for the little green frogs. Most amigurumi start with a magic ring, and a lot of people are afraid of them. But there's a simple trick to make a magic ring that won't come undone, and I'll show you how to do that now. Just tie a knot in the end of your yarn and snip off the yarn tail, and we'll use that to anchor your magic ring so it won't ever come undone. We'll start by making a magic ring. It's easier if you make a small loop, so wrap the yarn around your fingers like this and make sure you keep that loop quite small. Put your hook through the centre, pull through a loop and then do one chain. That starts your magic ring. So it should look like this, and we're going to do 8 amigurumi style single crochet stitches. So an amigurumi style crochet stitch is, instead of going over the hook like this as a normal single crochet stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to put the hook over the yarn, so it's called yarn under because the yarn's under the hook, and you pull through a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, then you can yarn over and pull through a loop. Some people yarn under up there as well, it doesn't matter. So here we go, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So that's 2 stitches. Then put your hook through the centre again, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And again, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So you need 8 of those and we've already done 4, so I'll do the other 4 quickly. So there's 5, 6, 7, 7 and 8. Now we need to pull the magic ring closed, but I'm not going to close it completely. Just leave a little bit of a gap there in the centre so that you can do round 2 easily. When you get to the end of your magic ring, put in a round marker. I just use a piece of yarn like this, and then start your next round. Don't close the magic ring yet, it'll make round 2 harder. So put your hook through both the front and back of that first single crochet stitch you made, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And again into the same space, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And in the next space we'll just do 1. So this is yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So that's our pattern, an increase and a single crochet, and we're going to do that 4 times around here. So here's the second one. Put your hook through both the front and back there, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And in the same space, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then in the next space, just a single crochet. Yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So we need to repeat that another 2 times, so I'll just do that quickly. Here's our increase, so 2 stitches in one space and a single crochet in the next space. And here's the last one, an increase, it's 2 in one stitch and a single crochet. Now we're up to the end of round 2. So pull out a piece of yarn like this so that you don't, pull your loop larger so that you don't accidentally pull it undone. Now we'll get that round marker out of the way and have a look, and you'll be able to see that this is coming out of this side, which means it's coming around this way. Pull in the same direction. If you pull against it, it's very hard to close properly, but if you're pulling in the same direction, it's easy. I'm sorry, I have to put my finger on that to pull. So pull it nice and tight. You can see that that's completely closed there. Now I'll put my hook back in the space here. You need to put the piece of yarn that's moving, this one here, at the top of your hook, so facing you. So now we'll start round 3. I'll put this round marker up to show that I'm in round 3 now. And for round 3 we'll do an increase and 2 single crochets. So put your hook through that first space, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and again in the same space, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And the next space we'll do 1, and I'll start trapping my yarn tail. So to trap your yarn tail, you just tuck it between your stitches there, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And we need to do the same in the next space. Remember to trap that yarn tail, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So as you go around, give this a little tug every now and then, because this can come loose as you're poking through the stitches. So our repeat is an increase, then a single crochet and a single crochet each in the next 2 spaces. So here it is again. Go through the next space, trap the yarn tail, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And in the same space, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then a single crochet in the next space, and a single crochet in the next space. And that's 2 repeats finished, and we need to do it 2 more times in this round. So here's my increase, and a single crochet, and a single crochet. Give that a little tug, an increase, little tug, single crochet, and a single crochet. Here's the end of round 3, but you can also see that it's also the end of my magic ring anchor loop there. If you crochet over top of that knot, you'll make a bump in your work. So for the next 2 stitches, I'm going to just tuck that behind. So in round 4, because we want our frog to be quite flat, we need to do some more increases, and I'm going to make extra increases this round. So for this round, I'm going to do an increase, and then a single crochet, and repeat that pattern 8 times. You should notice that the next stitch is an increase in the one below. I'm going to do a single crochet into there so that I don't stack my increases. If you have trouble poking through a hole, you can go in this way by hooking in like that and rolling under. That's often a very helpful way to do your stitches if you get stuck. So it's increase, single crochet, and I've done 2 spaces there. So now I'm going to do the anchor loop. I'm sorry, that's a lot of information all at once, but it will help you to have magic rings that won't come undone. So into the next space we'll be doing an increase, and we'll be trapping that anchor loop. So put your hook through the center of the anchor loop, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And you can see that my anchor has more space on it, so I'm going to do another couple of stitches in there. This is an increase, remember, so go through the same space again, also through the anchor loop, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. And the next one is just a single crochet, so put your hook through the space. There is enough space on my loop to put one more stitch in there. You don't want to make it too tight, because when you stuff your work it does stretch a little, and you don't want your anchor loop to be so tight that it's distorting your work. But I do have enough space there for one more. So I'm going to go yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And you can see there that my anchor loop, it does look a little distorted. Just give me a second. See how that's got a little bit of space there? So if it does stretch, it's not going to distort. So all that information at the start of row 4 might have made you forget the pattern. The pattern is increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet all the way around. So I'm up to an increase, 2 in one space, and then a single crochet. And I'm avoiding putting increases in the top of previous increases. If you do that, you'll start to get points in your work, but if you spread them out so they're not on top of each other, then you'll get a nice smooth circle. So the next one is an increase, and then a single crochet, an increase, and 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 a single crochet. And you should have 24 stitches at the end of that round. You can count them. You count them by counting the little teardrop, raindrop shapes at the top. So there's 2, just count them, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and you don't count the one on your hook, so you don't need to count this one. Remember, if you do take your hook out, you need to have the one that's moving here at the top. So round 5 and 6, we don't need to do any increases, it's just a single crochet in each space. So this is round 5, and we'll do a single crochet in each space. I'll speed up the video here so as not to waste your time. All you need to do is a single crochet in each space. And for those of you who'd rather watch every stitch to make sure you're doing the same thing, just slow the video down here. And just to let you know, as you're crocheting around, the head of the frog, or the back of the frog, whatever you like to call it, the base of the frog and the mouth of the frog are all crocheted in the same pattern for the first 4 rounds. I'll show you again when we get to those parts, so don't worry, but it's quite easy, it's just this same pattern again later. So that's the end of round 5. You should be able to see that it's starting to cup a little there. See how it's starting to curve? We'll do the same thing in round 6 and it will curve even more. If you bend it out now and try to crochet, it might stretch your stitches. So just let it stay cupping like this as you go around. So it's just a single crochet in each space all the way around. I'll speed the video up again so I don't waste your time, but it's just a single crochet in each space. And again, if there's anyone who'd like to watch every single stitch, just slow the video down now and you'll be able to see how I've done mine. As a designer, I'm really excited to see how other people use my patterns. So if you'd like to send me a picture somehow of what you've done and where you keep your frog, please send it to me. I'd love to see it. So you can see that that's cupping a lot now. And if you have a look at our frog's shape, it starts to go out like this. So that's what we achieve in the next round. So in the next round, we're going to do an increase and 3 single crochets. So move your round marker up for round 7, and we'll start off with an increase. So 2 stitches in one space. And then we'll do a single crochet in each of the next 3 spaces. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And we'll repeat that 6 times. So an increase, 2 stitches in one space, and then a single crochet in each of the next 3 spaces. So 1, 2, and 3. So I'll just repeat that until the end of the round. Increase and then 3 single crochets. And I'll speed it up again so as not to waste your time. I'm going to turn mine in the right way now because I want to see how well that's stretching out and making it start to shape the way I want it to. You can see that by adding those few increases as we go around here, we're starting to make the shape change from a cup shape to a little bit of a flatter shape. And that's exactly the shape we need for our little splat frog. So in the last space we'll do a slip stitch, and to do a slip stitch you put your hook through the space the same as before, yarn under and pull through a loop, and you'll use that same loop to pull through the other loop on the hook. That makes it all come down nice and flat. Next we'll snip off a yarn tail and pull that loop through, and then we'll do an invisible end. To do an invisible end, use a darning needle so you don't hurt your fingers. So pull out your round marker now and go into that same space. Some people go one more space across, then into the same space that your yarn is coming out of here. And before I go in there, you can see the stitch underneath, there's our teardrop there. We're going to go in the back stitch of that as well. So here's the stitch the yarn is coming out of. We're going to go into the back part of that stitch, so through the center of that loop. Then in the stitch below, we're going to go through the center of that loop as well, down there like that. And just pull that so that it's the same size as all your other stitches. It's hard to tell there which one is our invisible end because they're all done neatly. When you turn it on its side you can see because it's starting to peter out there, but from the top you can't tell. Now if that were the end, you could sew this down into here and up into there, but we're going to join it to the base, so you don't need to do any of that. We'll tie that together later. So there's the top of your frog's body. It's a little bit smaller because it's using amigurumi stitches and they're a little bit tighter. And there'll be one more row when it's joined together around the base. And that's what we'll make next. We'll make the base. To make the base, do the same thing as we did for steps 1 through 4 of the top. So you need to make an anchor loop for your magic ring. So pull that nice and tight and snip off the yarn tail. Not too close because it might come undone, but you don't want a big long tail there. Wrap the yarn around your fingers, make your loop a little smaller, put your hook through the center and pull on a loop, and do a single little chain. Then put your hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And again, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So we'll do 8 of those for the base. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And like before, we'll close the magic ring but not completely, so that it makes round 2 easier to do. And we'll put in a round marker and we'll start round 2. Remember to put your hook behind both the front and back legs of each stitch. So round 2 is an increase and a single crochet in the space after that, and that's a repeat of 4. So there's our increase and a single crochet, then increase, and single crochet, and do that 2 more times. So there's the increase and a single crochet, and the last one an increase and a single crochet. So that's the end of round 2. Pull out a loop. You can pull your round marker out now if you like to, and we'll put it in before we start the next round. The yarn is going around this way, so we pull in line with the way the yarn's going around. Pull it nice and tight. There it is, nice and closed very tightly there. Put the hook back into our crochet space and put the one that's moving at the top. Put in our round marker for round 3. And round 3 is an increase and 2 single crochets. So put your hook through the first space, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and in the same space, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then the next space is a single crochet, and remember we'll start tucking our yarn tail in there between what we're working on. Yarn under, pull through a loop, and then in the next space it's a single crochet as well. Remember to trap that tail. Yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So that's our pattern: increase, single crochet, repeated 4 times. So here's the next increase, then a single crochet, and another single crochet. So that's 2 repeats done. So we're up to the 3rd increase, increase, single crochet, so my yarn tail is getting close to the knot, so I'm going to tuck that behind now. And I've done an increase and a single crochet, so I've still got a single crochet to go here. And then an increase. And I'll be past that knot now. The knot will be here behind the work, and so I'll crochet into that magic ring anchor loop. So the next stitch is a single crochet, so I'll go through the work and through the center of that anchor loop, yarn under, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops, and in the next space the same thing. So I've already got it going through my anchor loop there, and I'm up to round 4. Round 4 is the same as it was for the head, so we'll be going to do an increase and then a single crochet, and repeat that all the way around. So this will be an increase, and I still have space left on my anchor loop there, so I'm going to put some yarn through the center there, and I'll put just one more stitch inside that magic ring anchor loop. So I'll put it through the center for that increase, and I won't do any more after that because my loop is small. So you can see there that that's tight enough to be an anchor loop, but it's not so tight it's going to distort the work. So the pattern for this round was an increase single crochet the whole way around, so that's 8 repeats. So here's my single crochet, then an increase, and a single crochet, and just repeat that pattern all the way around to the end of the round. I'll speed the video up again, but if you want to watch every stitch, just slow it down now. Remember that you can also use this exact same pattern and make your little splat frog in many sizes just by changing the size of the yarn and the size of the hook. Just remember, for amigurumi, go down a size or 2 from what is recommended on the packet. If you crochet tightly, go down 1 size. If you crochet loosely, go down 2 sizes. So you should have 24 stitches at the end of that round. In round 5, the pattern is increase 3 single crochet. So we'll do an increase in the first space, and we'll do a single crochet in each of the next 3 spaces. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So that's our pattern, and we'll repeat that 6 times. So there's an increase, and 3 single crochets, and then just repeat that the whole way around. And again, I'll speed up the video to the end of this round. If you'd rather watch each stitch, just slow the video down now. This is the last round in the base, so you're almost finished this part. Next we need to make the eyes, the mouth, the tongue, and the legs. And they're all really quick. And then comes the fun part, putting it all together. Remember, there'll be a slip stitch at the end of this round. And in the last stitch of the round, you put your hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, and use that same loop through that loop on your hook to make your slip stitch. Then we snip off a yarn tail and do an invisible end. So pull that through with your hook. You can take out your round marker now. Put this onto a needle. Go through the next space, or some people go through the space after. I just go through the next space. Go back into that same loop that you came out of and into the center of the loop beneath, and pull that to be the same size as the spaces around it. So that should have the same number of stitches as the top now. And the next step is to make the legs and the feet. So to make the little froggy feet and legs, all you need to do is a magic ring and a 4-chain cord. I'll show you how to do those now. So you need to make a magic ring. You don't need an anchor loop this time, but you do need a long tail. So wrap the yarn around your fingers, put your hook through the center and pull on a loop. Get ready to crochet, do a little chain, and then first we're going to do a single crochet stitch. This is not amigurumi style, so it's yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And now we're going to do 8 half double crochet stitches. To do a half double crochet stitch, wrap the yarn around the hook, go through the center, yarn over and pull through a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, through the center, yarn over, pull on a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So one more time, yarn over, through the center, yarn over, pull on a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So that's 3 and we need 8. So here's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now when you get to the end, I'm going to pull that closed a little but not completely closed and do the next stitch. So go into the first stitch there, both behind the front and back loops there. Hook your yarn tail over, yarn over and pull through a loop, and we'll do a single crochet stitch, so yarn over and pull through both loops. Now we're going to close that center, so pull out a loop here so it doesn't come undone. Remembering with your magic ring that you need to go the same direction the yarn is coming through. So it's coming through this way, so I'm going to pull this way. So pull that closed nice and tight. There it is. So put your hook back into the space, remembering that the yarn side that moves goes to the top. Now, to make the little leg cord, all you need to do is hook that yarn tail over your hook, yarn over and pull through a loop. So we're going to do 4 of those. There's 1, here's 2, yarn over with the yarn tail, then yarn over with your main thread and pull through a loop. And the third one, and the last one. Snip off a yarn tail and then pull it through the loop. You'll need to make 3 more legs, so 4 legs altogether. So that's our little froggy foot. Next we'll make the eyes. So this is a super fine yarn and I'm still using the 3.5mm hook. We're going to make a magic ring of 10 single crochet stitches, and you don't need an anchor loop for the eyes. And we're going to use regular single crochet stitches, not the amigurumi style, because the amigurumi style is too tight. So do a little chain to start, then we're going to go in the center, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And I'm doing this relatively loosely. I don't need it to be tight. So there's 1, 2, 3. If you're having trouble, sometimes it's because the loop's too big, so pull it a little bit tighter if you're having trouble. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to pull that closed a little. You need to leave space in the center for your little safety eye to go in. Or if you're embroidering it, you can close it, but it's easier to do the first stitch in here without closing the magic ring anyway. So go behind the front and back loops of that first single crochet stitch, and we'll do a single crochet in each. So we'll do 10. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. After you've done 10, that's the end of that round, and the start of the next round I'm going to do a slip stitch. So pull through a loop and use that same loop to pull through the loop on your hook. And then we'll cut off a yarn tail. You need a long yarn tail because you're going to use it to sew it onto the head. So pull that yarn tail through. Then I'm going to insert a safety eye into the center, and I'm going to pull that magic ring closed around it. Remember to pull in the same direction the yarn is going, and I want that to spread evenly around before it's too tight to adjust. So make sure it's spread nice and evenly around like that. think that's nice and even. And then when you're satisfied and it's tight enough, then put on the safety clasp on the back. Normally you can just push them on, but if they're a little tight you can use something to help you. I often use a wall mount for a TV or a monitor, and I press that down on a table. I can't really show you that on this table because the wood is quite soft. So I often use a little notepad underneath and press down hard so it's locked on. I try and get it locked on to the second, and then I use a lighter and I burn that down and press it in. I forgot to do an invisible end. You can do it now or before. So this is the loop that my yarn is crocheted into, so go into the next loop. Don't trap that tail in there. Then come back down into the same loop that your yarn is coming through and the back of the loop below. And you don't need to sew it off any more than that because we're going to use that to sew onto the head. Next, turn it in the right way so that it'll be covering the safety eye clasp at the bottom. Give it a good massage so that it's nice and soft and shaped well around that safety eye clasp. For this size eye, you won't need any stuffing in there because the safety clasp is taking up enough space. Look at that, it's going to make such a cute little eye for our frog. Make another eye for the other side, and then we'll make the mouth. For the mouth, we start with an anchor loop the same as before, and we're going to do a magic ring of 8 single crochet stitches the same as before. In fact, the first 4 rounds are the same as the other 2 parts of the body. So do a little chain, then put your hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. So it's exactly the same as before, and we're going to do 8 single crochet stitches. So here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pull your magic ring closed but not too tight so that you can crochet into the second round easily. Insert a round marker. Now I'm going to go into that first space. Black's a little bit harder to see than other colours, so try not to miss any spaces. So here's the first space is going to be an increase, the same as the body and the base, and then a single crochet, and repeat that 4 times. So an increase in the next space, and a single crochet in the next space, an increase in the next space, and a single crochet in the next space, and the last one, increase in the next space, and a single crochet in the last space. So that's the end of round 2. So pull a big loop there, and now close your magic ring. So remember to go in the same direction it's coming around and pull nice and tight. And then get ready to crochet round 3. So when you put your hook back on, make sure that the one that's moving is the one that goes to the top, like this. Move your round marker up for round 3, and then in round 3 we'll also be trapping that yarn tail. So round 3 is an increase and then 2 single crochets. So usually I ignore the yarn tail for the first stitch. So this is an increase, and then it's a single crochet in each of the next 2 spaces. Black is very hard to see. So there's the first one, hook that through in your work, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, then in the next space remembering again to trap that yarn tail, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. And so we repeat the pattern again, so it's an increase, single crochet, and repeat that 4 times. So here's our next increase. I think I crocheted too tight. Single crochet, single crochet, increase, single crochet, single crochet, then increase, and 2 single crochets. Now we're up to round 4, and round 4 is an increase and a single crochet repeated 8 times. So I've still got another space before my knot there, so I'm going to do my increase first. Here's the next space, so here's an increase, now I'm going to stop crocheting this in so I don't get that knot making a lump in my work, so tuck it behind and do a single crochet for me anyway. I don't know where you're going to meet your anchor loop. Tuck that behind. So there's my single crochet, then the next one is an increase. And I should have left enough space now for that knot not to get stuck in my work. So the next one is a single crochet, and I'll go through there and through the center of the anchor loop, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops, and I'm next into another increase. So I'll do an increase and I'm going into that anchor loop at the back again still. You can see maybe that my anchor loop has more space, so I'll do another stitch or 2 in there. So the next one is a single crochet, go through my anchor loop still, and let me see, yes, I think I can fit one more in there without stretching it. So the next one is an increase, and I'll just do the first stitch of the increase into that anchor loop and stop there. It's hard to see on black, but my anchor loop is nice and firm there but not too tight. So I won't use it again in my increase there. Then there's a single crochet and an increase, and a single crochet all the way to the end. I'll speed up the video again to the end of the round, but if you want to watch every stitch, just slow it down now. Just a heads up, you'll need to watch all of the next round. So now round 5 is a little tricky. So I'll tell you the entire round as we go. You might want to watch this whole round. So first we're going to do 6 single crochets. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, go through the next space and do a half double crochet. So pull the yarn through all 3 loops. Next we're going to do a half double crochet increase. That means do your half double crochet and another half double crochet in the same space. Then we're going to do a half double crochet again. So that's one edge of the mouth. Now we're going to do 9 single crochet stitches. Oh, I forgot, I need to do amigurumi stitches. So there's 1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I'll do a half double crochet and a half double crochet increase in the next stitch. That means we'll do 2 half double crochet in the same space, then a half double crochet in the next space, and then we'll do 3 single crochet. Actually, 2 single crochet and a slip stitch. So remember, with the slip stitch you use that same loop to go through the loop on the hook, and we're going to cut off a yarn tail, pull that through and do an invisible end. So go into the next space, come back into the space that the yarn came through, and go into the back of the loop beneath. Then I'm going to just sew a little bit into here because I'm not going to attach this to anything else. So I'll just sew into the back of a few stitches down here. And I'm heading to the center because I can then tie it together with the tongue yarn ends. So I'm not being too worried about which spaces I'm going into. I just need to get down towards the center so that I can tie those yarn tails together. So there we are, nearly at the center. That's enough. And now we'll make the tongue. So there's our little mouth ready. Haha. Pyam. I need some red yarn for the tongue, but this red yarn is going to be too thick. This is a cotton blend. It's 50% cotton, 50% acrylic. That's actually all I can get my hands on at my local store right now. They don't have many options in red. So if I strip that down to a 2-ply or a 3-ply yarn, just by undoing it like this, I can make myself a tongue that's smaller and thinner. If you're using weak yarn, this won't work, but mine's half acrylic and half cotton, so it should be strong enough. I'll just strip that down now. So with that stripped down to a 2-ply, which is 25-26 wraps per inch, it's either a lace or a super fine yarn now.
We'll make the tongue using foundation half double crochet stitches.
Make a slip knot, and I'm now using a 3mm hook. So remember, you can do it whatever size you like, but I just wanted a thinner tongue. So do 2 chain, then yarn over and go through the first loop that was your slip knot. You need 2 pieces above and 1 piece below. Yarn over and pull on a loop. Yarn over and pull through only the base loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So there's 1. Now to do 2, you go through the front and back of that base stitch. Yarn over and pull on a loop. Yarn over and pull a loose stitch through just the base stitch there, the base loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over and go through the front and back of that bottom stitch. Yarn over and pull through a loose loop. Yarn over and pull through 1 loop only. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So again, yarn over and go through the front and back of that bottom stitch. Yarn over and pull through a loose loop. Yarn over and pull through only the bottom loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over and go through the bottom stitch, both front and back parts of that stitch. Yarn over and pull through a loose loop. Yarn over and pull through 1 loop. yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So just repeat that until your tongue is 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches long.
I've sped this section up very fast because really it's the same thing over and over again until you reach the length of tongue you want.
So for me to get a 7.5 centimeter long tongue, it was 19 stitches. And there we are. So now when I finish that tongue, all I need to do is curl it like this, and it will start to curl by itself. So you'll have a cute little curly tongue for your frog. The last thing I do with my tongue is I like to use the end that we ended with the crocheting as the curling part of the tongue, because it's a little neater than the first stitch. That first stitch always has just a slightly different angle there that I don't love. It's all right, but I'd rather use this end for my tongue. So I've pulled the yarn through the loop, and now I'm just going to hide that tail in here. I'll just go through some stitches with my yarn, tail and needle, and I don't have a wonderful technique, so I'll just go through some stitches here anywhere. Just go back and forth through a few stitches, and hopefully that won't come undone.
I've sped this up a bit because my sewing technique is embarrassingly bad. But I did want to show you what I do at the end. I undo my yarn into half and half strands. In this case I've got 2-ply, so it's one for each strand, and then I sew one of those strands in through my work and then bring it back to the same position that the other strand is and tie a knot. Then I sew those edges out away from each other in the way that they're naturally pointing, and that way I'm hoping that if children suck on it or chew on it or throw it around, the yarn won't come undone. When you're satisfied, just pull it tight and snip off the yarn tails. Then roll the tongue up and set it aside. It will start to naturally curl by the time you're ready to use it. To get the ideal shape for the mouth, we're going to sew across the back of that black mouth. We'll fold it in half and sew across, and we'll trap the tongue in there as we sew it across. I've put a piece of yarn into each of the increases at the corners of the mouth so that I'll be able to see where I need to fold to, and we're going to fold straight across the center of the magic ring, and inside there we're also going to trap the tongue. Fold across the center and press firmly to make yourself a crease line. That should make it a little bit easier to work with. Using the yarn tail from the end of the tongue, put your needle in through one stitch to the edge of the magic ring center circle. Make your tongue sitting nice and straight. Then go through the center of the magic ring, like this. Then put your needle through the center of the tongue and back out the magic ring center, like this. Then go across to the next space, and you need to go behind both the front and back legs of that last stitch at the bottom there, and back into the base of the mouth. Then we'll just end off by tying those 2 yarn tails together, the one from the mouth and the one from the tongue. I tie a knot across like this, so go across once and tie a loose knot, go across again and tie a tighter knot, and go across again and tie a very tight knot. That way you don't warp your work. Then snip off. The next thing to do is sew across the back of the mouth. I'm using that little yarn guide to help me see where to fold across the mouth, and I've folded it firmly. Now I'm going to sew into the mouth. So go in one stitch from the corners, and we're just going to sew up and down through every next stitch across, and then come all the way back again. Leave a longish yarn tail to tie off at the end. So go across one stitch and go straight through, and you're going as close to the edge as possible while still folding it in half. Go across to the next space and sew straight through both the top and the bottom. I think I may have too much yarn here, but I want to have enough to go across and back. Sometimes it's a little bit stiff, so go through again, both the top and bottom. And you should be getting quite close to the tongue now. We'll be sewing through the tongue in the next stitch. So this time, as we sew through, open up the mouth and check to see where the needle is actually passing through. Make sure it is passing through the edge of the tongue there. I'm strongly encouraging you to be careful with this tongue because I've made lots of toys similar to this for a lot of little boys, and surprisingly the first thing they do is grab it by the tongue and swing it around. So be very careful with your sewing on this tongue. I've just missed the edge of that tongue there, so it is a good idea to check there. There it is. It's going through the tongue now. So you need to make sure you're securing that tongue as firmly as possible just in case. It would be awful to try and attach that tongue later if it comes out. So it might be a bit of overkill, but be very careful about how you're sewing that tongue in. I'll speed the video up here, but I'll talk you through anything you need to be careful of as we go across. When you do get to the end, make sure you open the mouth and check and make sure you're satisfied with where the tongue is. It would be awful to sew all the way back and have to undo it. It's easier to undo now if you're not satisfied. But if you are satisfied, then turn around and sew all the way back again. Again, making sure that you catch that tongue into your stitches as you sew across the center. Open the mouth and check as you sew across the tongue. That's the easiest way to make sure that you've caught the stitches in there. And then sew back to the edge where you started, and then we'll tie off. Now I've obviously overestimated how much yarn I'd need. Look how much I've got left here at the end. I didn't want to be stuck halfway through with no yarn left. So here we are at the end. I've got 2 strands of each side, so I'm going to do 2 different knots so I don't create a big lump there. So I'll just tie off each side, and then because I'm the queen of overkill, I'm going to tie those knots together at the end and snip them off, because it would be really awful if they did come undone. I'm going to leave that little piece of white yarn there that's marking the corners of the mouth for me, so that it'll be easier to identify the corners when I'm crocheting it all together. When we finish, that little knot can tuck behind there, and so it won't make a lump. Next we'll sew the eyes to the head, and I've made them in different colours so it's easier to see. I've already sewn on the first eye, and I want to show you how to sew on the second eye. Just make sure you have the tail at the back, just in case you have a little bump there at all from where you ended making the body part. So we have the tail from inside the eye. I've put my safety eyes on, and I've also burnt the bottom of it there to make it nice and flat so that the sharp end doesn't hurt the yarn here and start to break it. I have 2 yarn tails here. One is coming from the center of the magic ring, and the other is coming from the outside. I'm going to use the one from the center of the magic ring just to stick in here and hold the eye in place. So that the whole purpose of that is just to hold the eye in place. Now you want to have your eyes roughly 1 or 2 stitches apart here. You can decide where you like it, where you think it's cutest, and you're going to sew it into round 2 and down to between round 5 and 6. I'm going to start with the yarn tail from the rounds that we crocheted, and I'm going to put it into a space. This is roughly 2 spaces away from the other eye. In these ones I did it, that's 1 space apart, that's 1.5 spaces apart. So you can sew either into the gaps or into the stitches themselves. You can choose whichever way you like. I tend to do a mixture, but if you're doing small crochet like this, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing larger things, it's better to sew into the post
than it is into the gap, because you can cause gaping there. So I'm going to sew mine into here so that I'll have that determined space between the eyes. I think I'm quite satisfied with them there, they look pretty cute. So I'm going to sew into this peg here. It's a little harder to sew into the pegs, of course, than it is into the gaps. Doesn't want to come through there. I crochet very tight, so it's sometimes hard to get the needle through the spaces. What little spaces I leave there. There we are. So there's the eye started there. Now the way that I sew eyes in, I'm not the best at hand sewing. I don't like it at all, but this is how I do it. You can see that I've sewn into one part of this stitch here, down through the green and back up out the other side, and then in through the next one. So what happens then is you'll have every second stitch will have a stitch across it, and if you go round twice and come into the next stitch over, then every stitch will have a piece of yarn here holding it down, and that's how you can keep that shape looking lovely. So I've gone in here and I'm going to move across a little bit down to the next space here, through that peg there, through the stitch itself. There it is. And I'm going to come up into this last stitch. I'm going to go actually behind the front and back, the same as if you were crocheting. And then go into the front and back of the next one and down into the work here. I'm not going to show you all my stitches because I'm not terribly proud of how badly I sew. I'd rather have crochet that you don't have to sew anything onto, but I like sticking out eyes, so you kind of have to do it this way. So I'll just quickly sew that around, and I'll probably speed up the video from here so that you don't have to see my bad attempts at sewing. Gotten down the same distance as the other one.
Of course, you can sew on the eye any way you like. I know some people sew with a whip stitch where they just go in a stitch and then outside and into the body, but I prefer doing it this way because it looks like it's actually been crocheted on.
I've kept this yarn tail at the back because we'll need it soon. Now we're back to where we started. You can see that I've actually gone into that one, so I'm going to go backwards. This one doesn't have something across here, and this one does. So I'll go into this one, down and up out of this space, then down into this one across. That way we'll have them all secured down and sitting nicely. Nearly there. I think I've got one more to go here. Up into this one and across to this one. A stitch there. Yes, it is. So I've sewn the entire way around now. So there are my lovely little bobby eyes. Very cute.
To end off, all you need to do is tie the yarn tails together. I tie it off 3 times, actually 4 times, you'll see. So cross your yarn over and tie it off very gently. Then cross over again, and this time tie it off a little bit more firmly, like this. And then cross over again, and this time tie it off very firmly. And because this yarn is quite slippery, I'm going to tie it off one more time. A bit of overkill here, I know. But it won't come undone and you won't be able to feel it underneath the eyes. So tighten that securely and then snip off the yarn tails.
And I'm going to be giving you a very fun project with these yarn tails soon. So what I do with all of my yarn tails is I tie a little knot in the end of them, like this. Each time I have one, just there's a little loop there, like this. Tie it tightly, it only takes a second, and then I stick it in my box full. Here's my box of assorted yarn tails. So if you come back in a few months' time, I'm going to have a really fun project with all of these yarn tails. So I have a box full of little loops like that coming along, and I'll show you what to do with them soon. We have all the pieces ready here now to put the frog together. There's the top, the base, there's the mouth and the tongue, and the legs. The eyes are already attached. There's one thing I forgot to tell you with the legs. When you've finished your little cord, pull the yarn through the loop and then do a tie off at the end. You don't want that coming undone or even coming slightly loose. So I tie off the end here quite tight to my work, like this, and then tighten it off, and then that's ready to go. We'll start putting it all together now. So I'll put the feet aside just for a moment, and the tongue and the mouth. Now the first thing to do is to tie the base and the body together. When we finished each of these circles for both the base and the body, all we did was an invisible end, and then we didn't do anything with the yarn to sew it down or to tie it off. The reason is you don't really need to do anything. All we're going to do is tie these two pieces together. That way you don't have to worry about sewing it through anything or securing it at all. It's secured here. So tie it very close to your work so that those loops that were tied down here won't start gaping. That's so nice and close and tight there that even if people pull on that, that's not going to pull that last loop into a big gaping hole. So that's how I do those, so you don't have to worry at all about sewing them down. So that's all done. You can snip that off if you like. I'll do a second knot because remember, I'm the queen of overkill. None of my toys have ever come undone, so I think overkill is working for me. So I'm going to snip that off. And the last thing we have are the legs. And remember, I'm the queen of overkill. I really don't want anything to get pulled out. So I've tied the legs together and I'll put them in opposite each other. So they won't be able to pull out, but they are not too tight. They're not tied together so tight that they don't fit inside. To sew the mouth to the face, I fold the face in half and align the eyes like this, so you can see that they're lined up. And I have one stitch on this side and one stitch on that side, and I'll call that my middle. There are 12 stitches across the top of the mouth, which means I need 6 on either side. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the mouth needs to start crocheting into here.
I'm going to be using a contrasting colour here so you can see what I'm doing, and we're starting with a slip knot on the crochet hook.
So I'll insert the hook into that space there, and I'm going to insert the hook into the top part of the mouth. I want the tongue to be curling this way, so this is the top. If this was the top, it's curling the wrong way for what I want. So I want this to be the top. I'm going to ignore the stitch that this piece of yarn is coming through and crochet into the next space. And we're going to do regular single crochet stitches, not amigurumi style. That means we'll yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over again and pull through both of those loops. Now you'll need to stitch this a little loosely. I'm going to put one stitch in each space, which is going to cause this to curl up a little bit. I actually like it curling up there because I like it looking like the frog is opening his mouth. If you don't like that, you might need to add an increase maybe under each of the eyes, but I want mine to look like this, and that's why I'm crocheting it this way. But in order for it not to curl too much, I'm going to do loose stitches. So we'll go into the next space in the head, the next space in the mouth, yarn over and pull through a loop, then yarn over and pull through both loops. So in the third stitch we'll go through the head and the mouth, yarn over and pull through a loop, then yarn over and pull through both loops. Remember to keep them a little loose. So we'll do that all the way around the mouth. In the head, in the mouth, next stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop. Keep it loose, yarn over and pull through both loops. And the next one, through both of them, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, keeping them loose. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We should be at almost the center of the face now. Into the next one, and the next one in the mouth, yarn over and pull through a loop, keep it loose, yarn over and pull through both loops.
We're halfway there now, so now we just have 6 more on the other side. So put your hook through the head, through the mouth, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, remembering to keep it loose. And again, this is the 8th stitch, we just need 12. And here's 9. Keep it loose. 10. 11. 'And the last one will be 12. One left. And we're not going to go into the space that has the yarn coming through here. Those will be tucked in behind the mouth when we sew it all together. So there it is, the front of the face.
Next we're going to put the base and the body together. So you've tied it together here at the end. So just press those pieces together there and work your way around to the edge here. We'll tuck that mouth out of the way and we're going to crochet into the next space. So that's a little bit difficult to tuck away, I can see. So just put your hook through the next space and then align. I think that would be easier. So align the bottom there where it's tied together and work your way around until you come to roughly the stitch that aligns here. I think it'll be that one for me, and do a regular V-shaped single crochet stitch. In the next space we're going to add the toes, the feet, the legs, what do you call them? These ones I've tied together a little bit too close, so I'm going to use those ones at the back. And these ones I'm going to use at the front. Remember we did 4 stitches into our cord? I used the 4th stitch in the back legs and I used the 3rd stitch in the front legs.
It's completely up to you what you decide to do. You can see how they turned out here on my little frogs. I made the back one just 1 stitch longer than the front one, and I think it looks cute like that. But again, it's up to you.
So I'm going to keep going according to the pattern that I've written, and I'm going to go into the 3rd stitch at the front. So here I'm going to go through the body part, then we're going to go through the 3rd stitch in the leg. So here's the 4th stitch, so we'll go through the 3rd stitch here. I'm going to go between here, so that looks like my teardrop shape there. So I'm going to go through the front and back of the teardrop at the front, and you'll see there's a front and back teardrop at the back. Then I'm going to go through the body into the next space after the one we just did. So we just used that space, now we're going to move into this space here. And we'll do a regular V-shaped single crochet stitch pulled through all of those pieces. So through the base, through the leg, through the body, then we'll tuck the leg over this way and do a regular single crochet stitch. Next we're going to do 3 single crochet stitches, 1 into each space in the next parts of the body and the base. So there's the first one. So we're going to do 3. Here's 1. Remember to keep them loose. There's 1. Here's 2. And here's 3. There's the next one in the base. yarn over and pull through your loop, keep them loose, yarn over and pull through both loops. And in the next space we're going to do the legs. I forgot that I've got that tie there and I've got my leg tucked over there. So I'm going to stick this leg through that space there to keep it. That'll be the front leg on the other side. And I'm going to stick a leg through here so that I can use that for my back leg now. So into the next space we're going to attach the next leg, and this time I'm going to go into the 4th stitch, so the one right on the end. So we'll go through the body, go through the last stitch in the leg, so in there behind both the front and back parts of that teardrop shape, raindrop shape loop there's the front part, give it a stretch, and through the back part there as well. I did it very tight, I can see. Here it comes, there we go. I'll just stretch that up on the hook there. Then we'll go through the base as well. So here's the next space in the base, through there, yarn over and pull through a loop, pull it through the leg as well, and pull it through the body part. Now tuck the leg to the other side, yarn over and pull through both of those loops, and keep that leg tucked inside there. Then we're going to do another stitch here, a single crochet in this space, here.
You'll need to do 6 or 7 stitches across the back here between the back legs. The reason why it's 6 or 7 is it depends on how you've done that invisible end on both the top and bottom parts. So if you've done an invisible end 1 stitch away, then you're going to have 7. If you've done a stitch 2 stitches away, then you'll just have 6. So work your way across and I'll show you how to calculate back what you need. Remember to keep your stitches quite loose.
So loosely is keeping this relatively flat, otherwise it should start to curl up like this if you're doing it too tight. So if you can't do them loosely, add an increase here.
Because of the way I finished my invisible ends, I'm going to need to do 7 stitches across the base, and I'm up to 3, so here's the 4th stitch now.
And into the next space, and the next space in the base. There it is. This is where we did our invisible end. The invisible ends can get a little tight. If they're too tight, one thing you can do is to get a needle and just stretch that a little bit so your hook can fit through.
Oh, I've missed a strand.
If you stretch your yarn like that, you can go like this to readjust it. This is very stringy yarn. So through the body, through the base. Sorry, I messed that one up on you. And so I'll check how many stitches we've done now.
This is the leg one, so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to do 2 more. I'll show you how to calculate how many you need now.
So use 6 or 7. What you need is to have 1 space here to join them together, 1 space for a leg, 3 spaces between and 1 space for a leg, and you calculate the base depending on what you've done there. So there we are. Now I need the leg that was coming from the back, which is this one. You can see on the inside there. The leg that was coming from the back is this one, so I'm going to use this leg next. I might actually pull this out now, it's in the way. So we're going to go into the next space for the leg. So into here, I've already stretched that leg because it was a bit tight. Through the leg and through the next stitch in the base. There's the next space. Yarn over and pull a loop through all pieces there. Tuck your leg over the other side of this and then do a single crochet stitch. Then we're going to do 3 more stitches here. So here's 1 into the body and the base. If it's getting caught, undo and try again, because sometimes there can be a loose stitch there or a stringy yarn that gets caught. Make sure you're going through all of the bits you need at the top and bottom so you have them all in the right space. Yarn over and pull through a loop, keep it loose, yarn over and pull through both loops. Here's the second one. In the body, in the base, yarn over and pull through a loop, keep them loose, yarn over and pull through both loops. And then here's the third one. Into the body, into the base, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, keeping it loose. Now here's the last leg, and remember in the front legs what I have done is to put it into the second last loop here. Remember to keep this at the top, this is the bottom. It just looks neater on that side, it's the side that was facing up when you were crocheting. Then you go through that second last space there, into the third part of the chain, the third stitch in the chain. If it's difficult, use your fingernail to pull that yarn onto your hook, like this. I think I did my chains a little bit too tight. Stretch it up on your hook like that. Then go into the next space in the base. Yarn over and pull through all three parts. Tuck the leg to the other side, yarn over and pull through both loops. And here's the last stitch in the body, through the top stitch, through the base, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. Then pull this loop long and we'll stuff the body next. The last thing to do is to stuff your little frog. So open the mouth. You can actually still pull that out because it's not attached around the edges yet. We need to hide these yarn tails as well, and the way that I do that is I put some stuffing in above, like this. So put them all down to the base and put some stuffing above. Then put them inside and put some stuffing below as well. That way the yarn tails get trapped in between the stuffing. So for this little frog, you only need to stuff the upper part of the body. You don't need to stuff in the lower part of the mouth. So let's have a look and see. Push that mouth back in. Have a look and see if he's filled enough. I might need some more down in the back there. So those stitches are quite firm there. So I'm going to put just a little bit more in the back there. Push that in there. Right down into the back. So he's stuffed quite firmly. Let's have a look again, see how he's going. There he is, the little Splat Frog. I think he looks quite cute. You can squish that around later when you're finished.
You just need to make sure you've got enough stuffing in there so that after he's played with for a while, he doesn't go flat.
And the last thing to do is to put your hook back into the space here. You need to use the part that's moving here. This needs to be at the top side of the hook, like this, the one closest to you. So push the mouth back in, and we're going to go into that first, we'll ignore that one and we'll go into that first stitch there after that. So we can go behind the front and back parts of that raindrop teardrop shape and into the next one at the base. So that's the next space along. Yarn over and pull through a loop. Keep them loose. Yarn over and pull through both loops and then go to the next space. And do the same. You don't need to worry about this part for now. We're going to fix that in a moment. Then go into the next part of the face. The next part of the mouth and base. Keep it loose. And the next space. Yarn over, pull through a loop. Keep it loose. Yarn over and pull through both loops. I'm going to move these pieces out of my way. Now into the next space. It's a little tight here because it's close to my invisible end. There's the next space there. Now, let me count. I'm going to ignore that one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
and the invisible end. And on the base side we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to skip over that invisible end there and continue in the next space. If your invisible end is much better than mine, crochet through your invisible end and then crochet 2 stitches together in the corner of the mouth. I think this problem is caused by me going over only 1 stitch when you do the invisible end. It's probably better to go over 2, but I don't like going over 2 because sometimes it leaves a little bit of a gaping gap there. I'll figure out how to resolve that one day. Remember to keep your stitches nice and loose as you go across or the mouth will curl too much. We're nearly there.
3 to go. So here's 3, 2, and 1. And we've finished all of the crocheting now. There we are. Now when you're finished, I should have done a slip stitch there, I'm sorry. So with that last one, when you yarn over and pull through a loop, use that same loop to pull through the loop on your hook. Now I'm going to cut off a slightly long yarn tail and pull that through, and then I'll show you how I sew it in. Gotta be honest, it looks pretty terrible right now, doesn't it? In a second it's going to look lovely. So what you do is you poke all of that inside there. I've got the yarn onto a needle. Now we're going to go up into the base of this stitch above here. It's the one in front of the leg. Up into this stitch. Then I come out the top here so that you're following the line of this. So come out the top so your stitch won't be too noticeable. I caught a leg. So it's coming through the top there so that you can hardly see any difference between that stitch and that stitch because we've followed that line. And then you'll go into the top of the stitch we just came through. See, that's the stitch that it came through. We'll go into the top of that. Now we're going to go into the base here and back up through again. So we'll go back up through into the next space, across. This is the one just above the feet. And again, we'll follow the line of that little V stitch there. We'll follow that line there and come out the base here and pull tight. And then I'm going to sew into here. And I'm going to, I'm sweeping here. This is between the mouth part and the base part here. And I'm going to go out through a hole there in the work. But I'm going to choose this one because it's an increase, so it should have a slightly larger space there. I'm going to put it through there. And now we're going to work on the other side. So now put your needle onto the other side. We'll push that inside. The same as we did for the other side, just push that inside. And this time we're going to do the reverse. It's not going in as easily as the other side did. And there it is. So this time we're going to go down to the bottom. So we'll go into that stitch here. I'm going to try and push that mouth part in with the needle because it's not going in as easily as it did before. There we go. So I'll pull that down like this. Then I'm going to go through that space here, following the stitches. and come out above that mouth part, push it in there and out this stitch here. So what I'm trying to do is to push that mouth part in at the same time as securing this stitch. So I'm going to follow those lines up and go through the top of this stitch here. Then I'm going to go down into here. And what I want to do next is I want to come over a stitch. That corner of the mouth is causing trouble in this sample. In the other samples it wasn't so hard, I'm sorry. So we're going to go down into here and up through this space. So it's down following the lines here and it's coming across to the next space. And I'm going to follow those lines up here into this part. Go straight through underneath those loops like you would for a crochet stitch. Then I'm going to come across. What I want to do now is I want to go around here to secure this piece. So it's coming out here. I'm going to go through this one and through the end of this one. So I've got the stitches from the lower part of the mouth and the stitches from the upper part of the mouth. And I'm going to go straight across into this one. So it's making a loop there. That should hold that mouth securely closed. And now I'm going to go down under this part into the space. See those V's are going down here. I'm going to go under that into that V space, and then between the lower part of the mouth and the base where there's no stuffing, I'm going to go through there and come out this same space that the other stitch is coming through, but you have to make sure you don't catch any pieces of yarn there. So there, I haven't caught any pieces of yarn there right now. So I'll push that through, and now I'm going to tie it off securely. To do that and not distort your work, what you need to do is to do a gently closed knot like this. So that's relatively gently. Then you cross it over again and do it slightly more firmly. And then you cross it over one more time. And this time you secure it very firmly, very tight. Then put your yarn back onto a needle. Go through the same hole and make sure you don't catch any of the pieces of the strands of the piece of yarn. See how there's all these different strands there? Don't catch any of them. Go straight through the hole without catching anything, and then poke it out any way you like in the body, it doesn't matter. Now if you pull that hard, that loop is going to pop inside the body. There it is, it's popped inside. So now we'll do the same thing with the other end, with the other yarn tail. So go through that hole without catching any of the little pieces of ply in the needle here. So poke through, come out any way you like, it doesn't matter where, like this, pull it in. Then you need to pull this quite tight, actually almost distorting everything tight. Snip it off without cutting any strands on the body. So come close but not too close. So you're pulling this quite tight, snip, and when you let go, that will go back in the body because you've pulled it very tight. So same here, pull it tight. You can see that leg pulling across as I pull it tight. Then we're going to snip off, and that should pop straight back into the body. Give it a little stretch. There's his little legs. So cute. So here's my quite ugly frog. Sorry, frog. And the reason why I made this ugly frog for you was so that you could see how each of the different parts fits together. So he's done. That's how you make the little Splat Frog. And this is why I call him Splat Frog. Frog Splat.
I hope you enjoyed making your own little splat frog. I've made some other tutorials that you might enjoy as well, so check them out and let me know if there are any other tutorials you'd like me to make. Thanks for watching.